Hello, everybody. Today is a great day. Nuno Espirito Santo is back in the Premier League. It was looking like Everton. It was looking like Palace. It was looking like Fenerbahce at one point. But no, he's gone to Tottenham Hotspur. This day will go down in football history. Mark my words. Guys, we are almost at 500 subs. Well, I say 500. I think when I recorded this, we recorded this, we had 461. Please help us out by trying to get to 500. It would be a massive milestone for us. Let's move on again to... This is bigger than the Euro, Scott.
I mean, I don't know where to start here, but, you know, I'm surprised you didn't come on here with a Spurs shirt on, to be honest with you. Maybe it's just not been delivered yet. You're one of these Wolves fans that is just following Nuno instead of the club anymore. But, you know, basically what we're going to do, guys, is for hopefully, you know, if the Spurs fans watching it, we're going to let you know what you can expect with Nuno. And at the same time, you know, I'm sure there'll be some Wolves fans watching this as well. Obviously, he's left. He's not part of our club anymore, but he's still a manager, even though for some it didn't end well. We still hold him dearly. I wanted him gone, but he's still a legend in my eyes. I just feel it was one of them. He was at the club for 4 years. He looked a bit exhausted. He almost looked like he'd done everything he can. Like, we had different opinions on that, I know, but he's signed a 2-year deal with Spurs, which I think they should be very excited for.
You think Spurs would be excited at the fact that, well, I guess for Spurs fans, Nuno, yes, he's been in the league for 3 years, smashed the back end out of the Championship. He's still an unknown entity to them. He's had his first press conference.
Talking about solutions again. They've got to get used to that word, solutions. They're going to hear that when things go well. Spurs fans are also going to hear that when things go terribly wrong, and he'll be talking about finding solutions.
Why is this a jibe? Why is it bad for a man to say, I'm always looking for solutions? He would say solutions when we'd won 3-0 or beat City. He'd say... Oh, no.
But last season he talked about a lot of solutions and then just kept everything the same for the whole season.
No.
So we don't end up just arguing about
Let's try not to get into me and you insulting each other. This is about what Spurs fans can expect from Nuno. You're going to expect greatness, just greatness. Now, on a serious note, this is a good signing, in my opinion, for Spurs. I said it when we did Nuno to Everton. It was very close at the time. We did it with Mike from the Blue Boys Network, and a lot of their fans were kind of coming around to the idea of Nuno after watching our video. I can see them winning a trophy in the next 2 or 3 years if he stays. I really can, because he manages individual games well, in my opinion. There's been this nonsense that apparently Levy has told him you refuses to watch a 5 at the back. Now, we know that's how Nuno has got so much success in Europe, the FA Cup, the league. What do you think of that? Is it fair to bring a man in who, you know, has proven he can do it and everywhere he goes, everywhere he's been? At Valencia, it kind of tailed off, admittedly, but you're almost setting him up to fail right away, aren't you?
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because that's why I said that maybe a 2-year deal is right for Nuno. Wherever he's gone, he's been brilliant for like 2-3 years and then started to tail off a little bit. But at the end of the day, these days, that's natural manager. It's natural, isn't it, for most managers? Managers do start to tail off towards that end. But I'm shocked about that 5 at the back thing. I didn't know about that. I mean, it's one of them where that does worry me. I mean, we tried ourselves, Wolves. We tried to switch to a back 4. Maybe we didn't have the right players. But But you look at Spurs' squad, and I think a back 5 makes sense for them. And, you know, I think it's because we know Levy wanted attacking play. And it wasn't actually Levy's decision. I think it was one of the I forgot who it was, like a technical director that has come in from Juventus. Of course, he actually wanted him at Juve last year, but has actually recommended Nuno. But the thing is, they've gone for Nuno. So, you know, one thing I will say, and you'll probably agree, is you're not going to get the most advancing attacking football. But what you will get, let's be fair, is someone that, you know, if he's at his best at Spurs, you're going to get someone that grinds out results. And sometimes it might not be pretty, but if that wins Spurs fans a trophy and it gets them back into those Champions League positions, or at least challenging again, looking like challenging, you've got to be happy. But Levy, you look at Spurs' squad. I mean, they've got it's Religan on the left.
Yep.
My pronunciation is usually off with these players. That's why I wanted help there. And then, of course, you've got Aurier, you've got Doc, haven't you?
Yeah.
All three of those players for me can play really well as wing backs. And I think Nuno will get the best out of them as wing backs. Let's face it, Nuno got the absolute best out of Doherty, the best we've ever seen of him from a Wolves stance. So he could do that again. And I don't know. I think it fits quite well, a 5 at the back for Spurs, personally. I don't know if you agree.
They need to make signings. I mean, Harry Kane's going to be the big one, isn't it? And I don't think Nuno's the man. As much as I love him, I don't think he's the man that Kane's going to look at and go, "Yeah, I'll stay now." We'll have to see what happens with Kane, but very similar to how Jimenez plays, that lone striker, pace down the wings with Son, Adama Traore. Bale's not really that pacey player, but you've got Mora, and you know we've always had players like Neto and Jota who can give that service to Raul. Son's a better player than Adama Traore, and Mora, you could argue, is a better player than Jota. So if they're feeding Harry Kane under Nuno's tactics, you've got Doherty bombing down on the right, Reguilon bombing down on the left. They've got that foundation in the midfield that Nuno likes. He played Dendoncker, he played Neves, he played Moutinho. If he can get Ndombele and Højbjerg, maybe if he plays a 5-2-3, if he plays 5 at the back with 3 attackers, he can only have 2 holding players. But we saw for large parts of Nuno's success a 5-3-2, didn't we? With those three holding, which sounds weird with a back 5 and 3 holding. It sounds odd, but then he had 2 up front in Jimenez and Jota. Could he turn Kane and Son into one of the deadliest strike partnerships in the league again? For me, there are drawbacks. His substitutions were sometimes late. They were never baffling substitutions.
You went for a second there, but we're back. It's fine.
I lost you for a second. My apologies. His substitutions were never baffling, but they were late sometimes. I think you pointed that out a lot, didn't you?
Yeah, definitely. He does hold back with his substitutions. Sometimes they weren't the right ones either. They were a bit confusing at times. But we know, and we agree, he doesn't like to make early substitutions. But he likes to keep the team the same, and sometimes that'll frustrate, but at times it'll bring great... You know, we've got to look at when we were at our best, challenging for Europe, 2 back-to-back 7ths. You know, at the end of the day, part of that was the fact that he kept the team the same, and it really worked well. And yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one. I'm still undecided myself. I know a lot of Spurs fans are really against it. I could see him doing really well. I could also see it going the other way. I think part of that's going to be, you know, who we can bring in. Really interesting one for Spurs fans, in case they didn't know. One of the main reasons, apparently, that he turned down Palace was the fact that he said, I want to bring... Apparently, there was three Wolves players listed that he wanted to bring. One of those was Adama Traore. We know that Adama's yet to sign a new contract with Wolves. Yep. Could he see Spurs as a progression? You know, I think Spurs are looking for another winger. So I know a lot of Spurs fans have been saying they want Pedro Neto. No offence to Spurs guy, but I don't think you could afford him. He's just signed a 5-year deal. Unless you were willing to pay over the odds for him. And let's not forget he's out till December anyway. I don't see that transfer happening. But I do see him going in for Adama. We know that Adama himself was full of praise for Spurs. So maybe that's something that we could see next year. You know, I don't think Tottenham are going to sell Kane unless he really forces his way out. So would it be Son, Kane, Adama?
Tasty. That's pretty tasty, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
What do you think about this idea of bringing his whole backroom staff? Because that's why it kind of fell down at a few other places, mainly Everton, because, you know, Big Dunk is such a father figure there, if I can use that term. It's not a bad thing, is it, for him to bring everyone? Wolves have been very, I mean, you could say fortunate, but I think, knowledgeable in terms of injuries. We know how to manage players. We have players that play 60 games a season. Neves, Cody, Bowley, Jota when he was playing, Jimenez. Spurs need that, because when they get injuries, they seem to be out for 3 or 4 months, and they do get a lot of injuries. Yeah, so is this whole backroom idea a negative?
It's an interesting one, isn't it? The backroom staff question, because I imagine Mourinho had a lot of his own staff and a lot of those staff that would have left. So maybe it's a good fit that he's bringing quite a lot of backroom staff. What does that mean for Ryan Mason, of course? I'm not too sure there. I mean, maybe Spurs fans would have liked to have seen him in the picture for a bit longer. Maybe he does find a position for him, but it won't be as part of the main team. There's pros and cons to that, isn't there? I mean, really, it depends if Spurs fans are thinking, if they really love some of the backroom staff. But I imagine a lot of them already went with Mourinho, so it probably does quite suit.
Absolutely, I completely agree. I mean, one thing to point out as well, the level of manager that we're talking about, in the top 5 managers in the world, would you say? Jose Mourinho has won 4 Premier League Managers of the Month. Nuno has 3.
Here we go. You're going to use the last bit of the video to just talk absolute rubbish about Nuno, and then you'll whip out your Spurs shirt with Nuno's name on the back.
Mourinho has 4 Manager of the Month in the league. Nuno has 3 in a third of the time, a quarter of the time.
To finish it off, if he comes with the same passion that he did, I think it's very easy for Spurs fans just to look at the fact that we pretty much sacked him. I mean, we pretty much know that now. It weren't called to sack him, but let's face it. We heard rumours that he just wanted to go have time with family, that he was done maybe managing in the Premier League for quite a while. Well, obviously they weren't true. But I mean, just to finish it off for Spurs fans,
on that point though,
focus on our last season.
Say again.
But you've got to think about the 3 really successful seasons we had before that and what he did with us.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. On that point that you mentioned there about maybe it could be a little bit underwhelming for Spurs fans, I understand that, because they've been linked with managers like Zidane and Conte and people like that. So then to go to Nuno, if they'd have said Nuno a week after Spurs had sacked Mourinho, or I can't remember how long it was between Mourinho and Nuno leaving, but let's say a week after Nuno had been sacked, they said, that's our man. I think Spurs fans would have accepted it a little bit more. The fact that they've been mentioned with such world-class managers and then they've gone to Nuno, with no disrespect to Nuno, it just seems, I can understand why Spurs fans would feel a little bit underwhelmed.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
If I was a Spurs fan, I know you probably don't watch a lot of Wolves games. We're not the prettiest team to watch, but he gets the job done. You don't get back-to-back 7ths with a promoted side if you don't know what you're doing. If he doesn't need 50 million pound players. He just needs a few players that he likes, that fits his system, and you will go on great runs within the season. And you never really... Nuno's never lost... He's never lost 3 Premier League games in a row, has he? Maybe this season he did, when he had a bad run, when we had all our injuries. But prior to that, he would never pick up 1 point out of 12 or something crazy, what Mourinho's done with them, and what Poch did as well. So I'd be excited. And of course, only 1 less Manager of the Month award than Mourinho,
And I think on that note, guys, we'll finish that there. I mean, in conclusion, I both think this could work. We both think this could work really well for Tottenham, but time will tell. I'd maybe give him a bit more chance. I think Spurs fans will give him a chance, and I think you're right. Maybe they are a little bit underwhelmed. Maybe you guys are underwhelmed simply just because of the manager you had been linked to. But I definitely wouldn't write this appointment off. But guys, that is it. Please hit that subscribe button. We need to get to those 500 subs. Hit that like button too, and hopefully we'll see you on the next video.